Welcome to another edition of Educate and Protect video podcast brought to you by Kavanaugh. These video podcasts are designed to be short, 10 to 15-minute questions and answers on current and relevant topics affecting your business. Our goal is to help you better understand your present, so then that way you can have confidence in the future. My name is Diana Dix, HR Risk Advisor and host of today's video podcast, and with me, we have a very special guest, Jeff Kavanaugh, President and founder of Kavanaugh. Jeff, welcome.
Thanks, Diana. It's good to be here.
Great to have you. Now, as we come to the end of 2021 and we continue to navigate our new normal post-COVID-19, employers and employees are looking forward to coming together socially and celebrating the end of the year, the holidays. And as you gather employees in a social setting, wine glasses are being filled, bubbly passed around, and an open bar, there are some best practices to consider to minimize risks. So, Jeff, what are the exposures for employers who host events involving alcohol?
Good question, and they're actually fairly significant when you think about it. Employers really have two exposures. The first exposure is what is known as liquor liability or host liquor liability. Anytime you host an event where liquor is served, you can be held responsible. The secondary exposure is workers' compensation. When employees are participating in a company event, it's usually considered part of their employment. And any alcohol-related accidents or injuries could factor into your workers' compensation program. So those are basically the two exposures: liquor liability, which is responsibility for those that are consuming alcohol, and then secondarily the workers' compensation.
Now, is there a difference in liability if the event is hosted? I guess, is there a difference between it being hosted at someone's home? So, for example, a owner's home or a licensed venue?
Big difference. A lot more responsibility if you hold it at your home for a lot of reasons. One of which is you don't have anybody to transfer the risk to. If you use a venue, a restaurant, for example, the restaurant is generally going to be responsible for the serving of the alcohol. The restaurant is going to be responsible for keeping an eye on the people that have visited the bar, maybe a couple times too many. It is much more difficult to manage that at your home. At the same time, you've got this gray area between a business policy and a homeowner's policy, and which policy might protect the homeowner or business owner. So whenever possible, we feel it is better to use a venue and use the professionals at that venue.
Yeah, I think that is a great recommendation. Are there any other recommendations that you can share with our audience to limit the potential of risks during these types of events?
Sure, and it's a good question. As you know, we are a risk management firm, and this is an exposure that lends itself to being managed. So I think the first thing is to set the tone early. Your coworkers need to know that this is not a drunk fest, shot swilling party. It's an opportunity to get together outside of work and have a quality time, but it's not a frat party. The second issue is make certain you have lots of food and non-alcoholic alternatives. People don't get as drunk when they're eating. It's important to have good food. And like I said, it's good to have appealing non-alcoholic alternatives. The third thing I would do is I would have the party offsite like we talked about. The exposure is significantly less. The venue should be responsible for slip and falls, for over-serving, anything of that nature. And ideally, you become an additional insured on the venue's policy and have a hold harmless and indemnity agreement running in your favor. I will also tell you that the host can have a lot more fun when they're not worried about things going wrong at their house than if they use a venue.
Yeah.
Fourth, I would assign some people in your office to be watchdogs.
Good idea.
Interestingly, my son was in a fraternity at the University of Colorado at Boulder, and every fraternity party, 3 of the fraternity members were designated to keep an eye on things. They wore suits, they didn't drink. I'm not sure where they got 3 people to do that every time, but they always got 3 people in suits. And it's important that you do that. You have to keep an eye on your staff. And if you see somebody starting to go south, you want to address it sooner than later. Lastly, I would provide transportation. And this is one of the things we always offer.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody feels the need to take an Uber or other form of private transportation or public transportation, they should take it. It's on us. We want to have this party. We want everybody to have a good time. We don't want anybody to endanger themselves or others. So we always offer that. So I think with those caveats, Diana, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I mean, those are all great ideas, and especially just the fact that, again, for the first time, there are a lot of people getting together and being able to see each other up front and close with one another. And of course, the casualness of that, the alcohol flowing, being able to have a plan B in place, such as being able to take an Uber and not being worried that someone may get in an accident, is such a great idea to have in place for your employees.
Yeah.
One other thing I also want to remind everyone, even though we are talking about the risks of alcohol and what that may involve, I think it's also important to remind employees appropriate behaviors at these events. Kind of what you were mentioning, that it's not a frat party. You're still colleagues. There are still appropriate levels of behaviors, conduct that needs to be displayed at these type of events. And even though it should be something that would be obvious, but it's a great reminder to let people know of that. Keep in mind that inappropriate behaviors can also stem into the possibility of there being harassment in the workplace. So it's just a great reminder to let people know of that. And then additionally, we're coming together after a pandemic where people are still a little concerned of being close and not having that social distance. Reassure employees of what the venue provides, whether it is plenty of room for social distancing. You can still implement certain procedures that you have today with regards to face coverings, if that's the case, or social distancing, or other methods that you have put in place to make it a safe and still fun environment for your employees and their guests during these times. And also remember that if there are questions as to what to do or how to handle some of those different implementing various different COVID protocols, give us a call, whether it's your risk advisor or any of one of us in the risk control team. We're here to help you through managing all of those different components and making sure that you have an enjoyable time for your employees and that everybody's enjoying. Jeff, any final thoughts that you would like to share?
The only final thought I'd share, Diana, is that while we are a risk management company, insurance is part of the risk management process. And ideally, your general liability policy will include host liquor liability. Most of them do. It would be surprising if they didn't, which covers your exposure as an employee for anything arising out of a liquor-related incident. Your homeowner's policy might protect you there as well. Hopefully, you will never, ever have to use your insurance in a situation like this, but it's good to know it's there if you need it.
Yeah, very good. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. And I want to wish everyone a fun and safe holiday celebration, a wonderful new year. This wraps up our session of Educate and Protect. Stay tuned for more video podcasts brought to you by Kavanack. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, Diana.